Now that's more like it! Hey guys, it is J Star Wars 360 here with another Clone Wars vlog for you. This is the second episode of the Yoda arc. Yeah, it turns out even though the Sifo-Dyas mystery isn't really addressed in this episode, it's still part of the same story. But anyway, regardless, this is Voices. This is the episode where Yoda is meditating in the Jedi Temple. He's really looking for answers about what happened about answers regarding the knowledge that Dooku created the clone army, and he's also leading the opposing faction. And while meditating, he hears Qui-Gon Jinn's voice, with Liam Neeson nicely reprising the role, and he's constantly trying to communicate with Yoda, telling him, "It is me, I'm communicating to you from beyond the dead." And in search of answers, even though almost none of the Jedi can hear the voice, and some think the Dark Lord of the Sith is manipulating Yoda's mind, Yoda travels to Dagobah for answers, where he gets some answers. And I have to say, a lot of you people may be annoyed that I've been criticizing the show a lot and haven't really been giving it that much praise, despite being so anxious for the bonus content. I really haven't been that fond of any of the episodes in the most kind of. I've liked some, I've found some okay, but I've been really critical. Like, there's been nothing to gush over. Until now. Like, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I want to see when I see Clone Wars. Like, it shows episodes like this that are the reason why I'm happy I watch this show. That make me happy that this show exists, and make me pissed off at Disney for canceling it, because we could have got a ton of more of stuff like this, hopefully, had the show not been canceled. And, oh my gosh, like, this is how you do a really good Clone Wars episode. Like, so, in case you can't tell, this entire video, I'm pretty much just going to be gushing over how good this is. So, Filoni said he couldn't wait for people to see the Yoda arc, and he is right. This is like, oh my gosh. So let's start. So first off, I do like how this episode does open with us still Yoda addressing, the revelation that Dooku and Tyrannus are the same person, and that, the clones and separatists come from the same person. That is a really big issue, and it's not something you sweep under the carpet. I like how they are still dealing with that. I mean, I'm kind of annoyed that they are sort of seem to be ignoring it, or kind of, and focusing on something else, although not really, because Yoda does inquire about the identity of the Dark Lord of the Sith. So they are looking for answers, I like, but I do like how they are addressing it, because some shows, something will come up and then they'll rarely address it again. So it was cool. And this is a really big deal. This isn't something that you should sweep under the carpet. Hang on, I just remembered something I'm doing for later. There we go. Sorry. So anyway, so that was really good. Also, fun fact, if you have you might be able to find this clip on YouTube, but if not, I'll sum it up. If you have bought Star Wars on Blu-ray when it came out back when, you got access to a ton of never-before-seen deleted scenes, one of which is Yoda meditating in that asteroid base where Padme has her babies. It's a map in Battlefront, the asteroid map. Yeah. So Yoda's meditating, and he contacts Qui-Gon. That scene was cut from the film. And it seems like that scene was the inspiration for this arc, because, again, it's Yoda meditating and contacting Qui-Gon. And I really like how they're elaborating on that, because it's sort of a thing, why is... I'll touch on this a bit later, but, how do you do the ghost trick? How is it that some Jedi like Yoda and Obi-Wan can come back as, and Darth Vader can come back as ghosts, but all the other Jedi and people cannot? And that's really interesting. Now, first off, I have to say that making an arc about Yoda, Dave Filoni kind of touched on this, and I'll regurgitate it, is tough. I mean, Yoda is the greatest Jedi master of all time. He's really powerful. So what kind of challenge can you make with Yoda that could be worthy of him? Something worthy that only Yoda could deal with it, and it would work. And this makes sense. I mean, first off, establishing the idea that as wise and powerful as Yoda is, there's still stuff out there that he doesn't understand. I mean, Yoda says that we have our knowledge, but our knowledge doesn't answer everything. There's some stuff that can't be explained because we don't know everything. And I think that's some really good philosophy. Again, a lot of this is harkening back to Empire Strikes Back when we're on the in Dagobah and we're getting all this great philosophy. I mean, I know we go to Dagobah, but even so, like, just the stuff we're learned. I mean, the fact that we're getting all this philosophy, it's just harkens back to the old trilogy. And I do like how the Yoda arc. I mean, I haven't seen the rest of it, but I like how this episode was a very spiritual journey. It's Yoda discovery, getting in touch with the Force, learning stuff about himself, and growing and develop spiritually and his connection to the Force, which is a lot like the original trilogy, where it was more about being connected to the Force and you're inside, and not so much about strength or swinging around a lightsaber, which, I mean, I saw the trailer and seems like Yoda's going to be doing a bit of that, but I really hope they keep it on the spiritual side. Because that's a lot of what made the original trilogy on Dagobah so great. It was about this spiritual and ideological stuff. And I love that. I think that's a lot more true to the Yoda we all know and love. So, again, I also like how there's dissent in the council, how they don't entirely trust Yoda. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to do. I mean, you can trust Yoda, but at the same time, it's like, you're in war. I mean, it's kind of understandable if you want to be on the edge of your seat, especially, when you have given everything that's happened. It makes sense. Also, I really liked Liam Neeson in this episode. He was awesome. I mean, first off, Liam Neeson's an amazing actor. I mean, he's done so much great stuff, not only in Star Wars, but in film. Like, Schindler's List, he's really good. I haven't seen Grey or his recent film Nonstop, but I've heard he's really good. And he's really good, funny in Lego Movie also. But yeah, it was awesome to hear his voice, and that they got the original actor back once again. And, again, I do like how Liam Neeson is sort of like the Yoda figure in this episode. So it's sort of like this story of Yoda seeking further enlightenment. I really like that. It kind of reminds me a bit of Kung Fu Panda when Master Shifu is becoming enlightened throughout the movie and finding inner peace. So that was really cool. It's kind of like an Oogway and Shifu relationship if you've ever seen the movie. And if you haven't seen Kung Fu Panda, go see it. It's a fun movie. So I do like how they explain why not everyone can become ghosts. It's involving stuff about the Force that most people don't understand or know. I like the idea. So again, Qui-Gon, if you're wondering why he didn't come back, it's because he didn't understand it entirely. Seems like Yoda's going to understand as he comes back as a ghost, and then he's going to teach it to Obi-Wan. I think that's a really cool hole to fill up. And they also explain why Anakin can come back as a ghost too. Even though he never learned it, he does have this connection. I mean, the fact that when he's walking around the courtyard, he can hear Qui-Gon's voice, which kind of makes sense because Anakin's a really powerful Jedi, and they even say in Phantom Menace, I mean, I know it's a bad movie, but still, they say that Anakin has a higher midichlorian count than Yoda. So, in other words, Anakin does have power, and it makes sense that he would learn it. And I also like how they explain why Yoda went to Dagobah. I mean, I read somewhere on StarWars.com that the reason why Yoda went there is because the tree had a lot of dark energy, and that would mask Yoda's presence from the Empire. But here they also explain because it's like pure Force energy, and it's a really good place to connect with the Force. So, yeah. And also they kind of address the midichlorians. I mean, because they can't get rid of it entirely, but they do downplay it and make them seem kind of insignificant and put more emphasis on the living Force around us, which I thought was a really smart way to sort of deal with the whole bullshit about the midichlorians. And also really like the tree scene. I mean, the instant Yoda's going in there, it's like, what is he going to find? And I love what he found. Again, I like how he sees the future, but it's kind of hazy. It's like he doesn't really understand what he's seeing, but he knows it means the Republic's going to get screwed, but he doesn't know the details. It was a lot like the Mortis trilogy when Anakin sees its future, except with that, Anakin knew exactly what he was seeing. Here, Yoda doesn't. So that kind of is cool. So the rest of the stuff I'm going to talk about is just little details I can't think of anywhere else to mention in the vlog. So if you want to skip ahead, this is going to be really quick. First off, no Barriss in this arc episode makes sense given the Ahsoka arc. Also, I liked hearing the Yoda theme in this arc. I Like, there's a scene where Mace and Obi-Wan are concerned about Yoda, and you hear a nice variation of the Yoda scene. Also, we get to see this courtyard area, which we've never seen before. Actually, we kind of got to see it when Anakin was fighting Barriss in the final arc of Season 5, but not really. And speaking of Ahsoka, the show feels really different without her. And actually, I'm kind of surprised they haven't addressed Ahsoka's absence. Next, Yoda references the Mortis arc. Yet, how does Anakin remember? Didn't they lose their memory of that event at the end of the arc? Again, I'll have to go back and rewatch it. Also, there were some nice designs in this one. Like, I really like the design of the guards guarding Yoda. I don't think we've seen them before in this arc. I wonder if Filoni had plans to do anything else, plans to do more with them, like have them fight. Would have been cool. Also, interesting to note, there's a clip on StarWars.com of this episode, and there was a clip shown at the Star Wars convention, where we see Yoda taking off into hyperspace in Dagobah, but it's not in this episode. And I think the reason for that is because when they make the episodes, I think they structure them keeping commercial breaks in mind, and they need to structure it so that they'll have certain points where a commercial can come in and it won't interrupt the episode. So I think the hyperspace is a way of segueing into commercials, and I think when they released it on Netflix, they realized it does make sense to have them go into hyperspace and then immediately come out, so they cut it, which is kind of a shame, and kind of makes me curious what else they cut to make it flow better on Netflix. And also, I missed the music that played in the original clip. I mean, I know it's just placeholder music because they probably didn't have the real music then, but it sounded cool. Again, go on to StarWars.com if you haven't seen the original clip. It's basically the clip but with classic Star Wars music. It's awesome. Dr. Nemo, I thought she had a really interesting design for Jedi. I'm curious if they were going to do more of her. Also, there's some cool visuals like IGN of the time-lapse. And also in the cave, something I found really interesting, there's a deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith of Shaak Ti getting killed by Anakin. Actually, there's two versions. One is where she gets captured by Grievous and is killed on the flagship in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, and the other where Anakin kills her. And so I thought it was interesting that they put that deleted scene back in there. And if you haven't seen the Shaak Ti deleted scene, it's on the Revenge of the Sith Blu-ray. You might be able to find it online, just YouTube it. And this also means that The Force Unleashed is no longer canon, because if you've played that game, you know Shaak Ti is alive and she's in hiding. According to this, she is killed, and which means Force Unleashed unfortunately never happened, which means we're not going to see Starkiller in Rebels. Or you could make the argument that the future is always unclear and that Yoda could have just been seeing Starkiller kill Shaak Ti. But it probably means that Shaak Ti has died. Force Unleashed never happened. So yeah, really good episode. I mean, it's kind of like the Ahsoka arc, where the first episode was kind of good, but not really. And then about halfway through the next episode, it gets really good. And if you're wondering what part of the Ahsoka arc it got really good, it's when that person died and Ahsoka had to make that mad prison break, and we had that 5 to 8, chase scene that was about a little over 5 minutes long. So yeah, really good arc. I'm curious where they're going with it. And also, this arc kind of solidifies my belief that the Ahsoka arc was going to be in Season 6, because most of the arcs in this season either seem to be wrapping something up from the Clone Wars or setting something up for Revenge of the Sith, and sometimes they're doing both. And Ahsoka's arc falls in that category. Like, you really get the sense in a lot of these episodes in the Lost Missions and the Ahsoka arc that we're really close to the timer for Revenge of the Sith. And it kind of makes me sad because I'm really curious to see what else Filoni would have done to tie it into Revenge of the Sith, and if he was going to do a big lead-in episode. But I digress. I'll save that for a final video or some of my final thoughts. But yeah, really good episode. Show's finally getting really good. I'm really curious to see what these next episodes hold. One's called Destiny, and then the final one is called Sacrifice. I'm really curious to see where they go. And yeah, this seems like it's going to be a really good arc to end the show on, even if it wasn't the intentional one. And yeah, this is JStar360, and may the Force be with you.